There are definitely things that I have spent some money on, maybe even invested in, that did end up saving us a lot of money in the long run. And so today I want to talk about some of those things, some of the items, some of the things that we have purchased. Not all of them are expensive, various price points, but overall they end up saving our family of 10 thousands of dollars a year. Number one is something that is completely free, and that's YouTube, right here, where you're watching this very video. Watching videos, consuming content on YouTube can actually help you a ton with learning new skills, kind of DIYing things. We have been able to learn a lot of skills on how to do things by watching YouTube videos, by searching and finding videos where someone else who's an expert teaches you. It really is like sort of this hive mind that you can find really a lot of good information, a lot of helpful information, and it's totally free. So I feel like that one is definitely something that has saved us, I mean, probably tens of thousands of dollars by all of the things that we've been able to repair or fix ourselves, or if it's something that we needed to like build or make, that we've been able to learn the skills that we needed to do that by watching YouTube videos for free. Number two is homemade laundry detergent. I shared a video probably last year or so with 2 different recipes to make homemade laundry detergent, a liquid detergent and a powder detergent. I've actually started making a number of our household cleaning items, and I'm still buying some things as I'm like tweaking the recipes for things that I'm currently making, just making sure that they're working and that I like what I'm seeing as far as like how well they're cleaning and stuff like that. And I don't use our homemade laundry detergent for everything, but it is really nice to have. It is very, very cheap, affordable to make. To me, it's nice to know that should, the ish really hit the fan, I've got a number of skills and abilities to create things and things that we can use in a pinch, or things that if budget is really tight right now, things that you can make and create at home right now too. So homemade laundry detergent is a big one. I will link that video down below in the description box so you can go check that out and see all about how to make it yourself if you want to give it a try. Which then brings me to number 3, and that is capsule meal planning. Now, I teach a workshop all about how to do this process and how much it is revolutionized our meal planning, how much it actually saves us a ton of money. Now, it saves us a ton of money for a multitude of reasons, including the fact that I'm basically like capsulizing our grocery shopping trips too. So that's where it really saves me big, is not like nitpicking at the grocery store constantly. And it allows me to meal plan for really long periods of time, which is very helpful because I just don't want to be spending the time meal planning constantly. It's been so helpful in saving our family both time and money. I will put the link for that workshop down below in the description box, as well as a discount code. But if you are like, I don't know if I want to learn that right now, I just need help right now, I just launched a summer capsule meal plan. So basically I took what I teach you in the workshop and created a done for you version. So it's got 3 months, 12 weeks of meals, dinners done, planned for you, including the weekly grocery lists. I put some tips on there each week for like double this and freeze one, so that you can plan ahead and be prepared. It's got delicious summer recipes, some grilling stuff, some crock pot stuff, some freezer stuff, and it's very flexible to change the servings and stuff for how many people you're trying to feed. So it just came out. It's over 50% off for the month of June only. So definitely check that out down below in the description box if you want a capsule meal plan that's done for you. By doing this process, I'm telling you, it saves us both time and money. By meal planning for longer periods of time, doing less grocery trips. If you have 3 months of meals planned, you can go and buy all of your non-perishables at one time. Then all you have to buy is the stuff that's perishable. If you want to go to the store once a week, twice a week, it's totally up to you. So it's been, I hesitate to say life-changing, but kind of for us. It's a method I highly recommend. Number 4 is our bread machine. Now, I have started making a lot of breads. We go through a ton of loaves of bread. My kids love sandwiches. My husband loves sandwiches. Some of my kids really love just plain toast and stuff. So we go through a lot of bread, and it can be very expensive. So I have been tweaking and trying to figure out a bunch of different bread recipes, and I finally nailed a sandwich bread recipe. I'll put a link for that down below in the description box as well. But it's also really helpful to use the bread machine to do a lot of the work for you. It's an investment. In my opinion, it's really not worth it to buy some of the cheap kind of crappy ones. It's better to make an investment into a better bread machine. We had one growing up. My mom used to make bread in it all the time. It was so delicious and I love it. It just makes so many different things and it's so helpful, which kind of brings me to number 5. That's our Pullman bread pans. The reason I love the Pullman bread pans, okay, is because they make a loaf of bread that looks like a loaf of bread you would get at the store, that very like square shape, which is really helpful when you're not only does it just like make a long loaf of bread, it's easy to cut, it's easy to make sandwiches out of, it makes the bread look like a traditional loaf of bread, which is really helpful for kids too, who might be like, that's not, especially when they're really young. We all know how picky toddlers can be when they're like, that's not bread, that's not my sandwich bread. No, mommy, that's not my sandwich bread. And you're like, yes, it is. And they're like, no, it's not. You can just make it look exactly like store-bought bread, and then it's unlikely that they'll ever notice a difference, except for the fact that they'll probably be like, man, this bread tastes a lot better. But kids are creatures of habit, and so sometimes, cutting into a piece of bread that's shaped different or whatever can make them tweak a little bit, So I love the Pullman bread pans. They have these like slide-on lids. They're just the best. Number 6 are my hair cutting shears. As a family of 10, haircuts and getting our hair done, it can add up. It can be very, very expensive. I actually pretty much quit going to a beauty salon to get my hair done. It's been, I don't know, a year or so. And before that, it was 6 months or 8 months. So it's been a good almost 2 years since I've really gone to get my hair done and been consistent about those, because those appointments, God love hairdressers, they're really artists in so many ways, and I certainly don't begrudge them, but it adds up. It gets really expensive, especially if you're like me and you're trying to cover grays. It's a frequent visit. If you're someone who's staying very close to your natural color and maybe just throwing in a few highlights here or there, you can get away with going a few times a year. But when I go to the hairdresser, it's every 5 or 6 weeks in order to keep up with the hair coloring that they've done for me. So I also have started cutting our kids' hair at home, and I love my hair cutting scissors. I cut all of my girls' hair. The only hair that I don't cut at home is our boys' hair. They go to the barber. He's fantastic. He's around the corner. He's great. He cuts all the boys' hair. I have in no way mastered boy haircuts. It is not easy, and I don't want my husband or the boys to look goofy. I can cut the girls' hair, but the boys still go to the barber shop. So anyways, the hair cutting shears have been something that has saved us a ton of money by doing haircuts at home. Number 7 is my laundry line and some good, sturdy, quality clothespins. I will link for you down below my favorite clothespins that are actually like heavy duty. They'll hold heavy things on your clothesline. My husband built me a lovely clothesline outside with like steel wire. I believe it's like a coated steel across the top. So it's incredibly sturdy, because sometimes I hang rugs out there, bigger things out there, but it's hot where we live, it's humid where we live, and energy is just expensive. So drying things outside is very, very helpful. Now, I certainly do not put all of our clothes out to dry at this point. I also do a lot of hang drying in our house. I have this pop-up rack, and I do a lot of hang drying in the house on that rack. And if you're looking for like a temporary solution, a space-saving solution, I found this really cool, I believe it's called like a Gorilla something clothesline. I'll link it in the description box. And it allows you to sort of set up a temporary line in your house somewhere to dry things on. So it attaches to one side and has a retractable line that comes out so that, you can have a clothesline but doesn't have to be up all the time. Very helpful. Number 8 are perennial plants. I never knew how much I would appreciate my perennial plants until the last probably year and a half. Especially last year, I didn't do nearly as much landscaping and gardening as I had the previous 2 years. And let me tell you, in the spring, when you're like feeling behind and you're worried, oh, I haven't planted enough, I haven't started seeds, when you start to see those beautiful little plants pop up and you're like, oh, I forgot about you. Hello, little beauty. And all these things show up in your yard that you're like, I forgot about you because they've gone dormant during the winter. I love my perennials, okay? They are such a good investment. You go to the nursery and, the perennial plants, some of them cost more than annuals, just depending on what it is. But I feel like a lot of times people just get caught up in all the bright, pretty colors of the annuals, and I do too. But what I've tried to do is in all of my containers and various areas, have a good sort of starter canvas of perennials that I just fill in little holes here and there with annuals so that I can have some of the pretty fun colors. And there's perennials that come in pretty colors too. It's sometimes there's just certain things that you're like, ooh, I want that, super bell, that super hot pink, bubble gum, whatever. So I totally get it, but perennials are where it's at, baby. They will save you a lot of money if you are a plant purchaser. Of course, you could just purchase no plants and that would save you the most money. And I know somebody will say that in the comments, but life is not worth living without beautiful plants to admire, in my humble opinion. Number 9, are we on number 9? Our chest freezer. We got a giant, like 6-foot long chest freezer in, I think, 2021. It was actually when chest freezers were, it was 2021, when chest freezers were incredibly hard to find. And there was like a markup everywhere on them because people were like desperate to start storing up and saving up food. But again, as a family of 10, even if you're not going to do any food storage or saving food like that, we just have a lot of people to feed. So if I'm doing 3 months of grocery shopping and I've got like meat in the freezer and stuff, it's a lot. Okay, it's a lot. So having our big chest freezer, I love it so much. And I also have a fridge that is both a fridge or a freezer. We operate it as a refrigerator in our garage. So we have the garagerator and the freezer, the chest freezer. If needed, I could convert them both to freezers. I just love how much that big giant chest freezer holds. It's awesome. It really allows you to buy in bulk where it makes sense. And it saved us so much money by being able to strike while the iron is hot on good deals for meat and other things. So especially if you can go in with somebody and buy half a cow, split a cow, or maybe you can do the whole cow and you've got enough space to store all that. Like buying meat in those ways is going to save you money, and having a chest freezer is going to save you money in the long run. Number 10 is a little shout out to my aprons. Okay, I love my aprons, and I know, right, there's all this like trad wife stuff, and people are, I don't know why people are like hating on aprons now, oh, aprons make you some kind of a trad. Listen, aprons are practical. All right, if you go to a restaurant and chefs wear aprons. Okay, it's not just a look. It's a practical item, and they save me a lot of money because I'm clumsy and I'm messy. And if I just wear my regular clothes going about my cooking and cleaning and stuff, I will ruin things. So having an apron, I love it. It's like, I put on my apron. It's like putting on my superhero cape. Mama's about to be baking some stuff, cooking some stuff. My kids come down, they see me in the apron. They know they're about to get some good food. They get excited. Like, what are you baking? What are you making? So I love a good apron. It saves your clothes. It's practical. I'll link you to a couple of my favorites. I have one that has like some little ruffles on it that I love, but I also have another one that's just a very plain, simple apron. Aprons are where it's at, baby. Number 11 is to cut open the tubes on things, toothpaste, skincare, whatever. I have a face cream that I use. I've kind of really boiled down my skincare products to very basic things, like with good ingredients that work. That also means that they're not the cheapest thing. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the absolute most out of them. And so one of my products, I thought it's got like a little pump, and I'm like, I can feel that there's more in here, but the pump is nothing's coming out. So I cut the end off, opened it up. Oh my gosh, there's like probably 3 weeks more of product in there. And I was like, I can't believe I was about to throw that away. So toothpaste, skincare, I'm sure there's other things I'm not even thinking of. Shampoo, hair, cut open the bottles and get your last little drops out of everything. You'd be surprised how much you're probably throwing away when you feel like, well, I can't get any more out of this, and we toss it. I didn't used to do stuff like that. It's true, like the older you get, you start to really see how much things cost. And as you're watching this inflation stuff happening around you, the shrinkflation, the lying to us about the sort of trickery and changing the amount that you're getting, not the price, you start to get a little scroogey about stuff, I'm just saying. Number 12 is buying store brands. I've done this my entire life, okay? I've never been a brand name snob. I've never been the kind of person that wouldn't buy store brands of things. There are some things that I'm going to just tell you right now, they taste different, they work different. There are some things that aren't always, like in my opinion, unless I'm in a desperate situation, worth buying store brand. But that's like such a small percentage. The majority of things I just look and buy the store brands. They're good. They're often made like in the same factory as the other thing. They're just smacked a different label on it. So store brands are where it's at. And I feel like, most of us at this point, I can see my demographics here. Many of y'all are around my age and even older. Like, I don't think we have a lot of store brand or like name brand snobs in this community here. So store brands are definitely going to save you a lot of money in the long run. Number 13, I think we're at, are ceiling fans and box fans or room fans for air circulation. Again, we live in the South. It is very hot. It is very humid here. And, aesthetically, ceiling fans can kind of stink sometimes, okay? They are not the most beautiful things to look at, especially some of the like plain older ones that we have in our house. I'm like, ugh, the like design element of it, I'm like, doesn't look good. But let me tell you, it is incredibly helpful to circulate air, move air, and make your air conditioning, sort of go farther. Or if you're in an environment where maybe you don't have to use your air conditioning all the time, it can, sort of stave off the need to turn on the air conditioning if you can just circulate and move some air. Obviously opening your windows and stuff. But again, here in the summer and the humidity, you can't be opening windows. It's going to look like a rainforest in our house. It's going to be like dew dripping off the glass, which it already does in the morning anyways. But it's going to start to like let all of that like just sticky air in the house. I honestly, I'm just going to digress for 1 second to tell you that I don't know how our ancestors survived living in the South. I'm talking like South Carolina, South Georgia, like Florida. How did they survive here before there was air conditioning? Okay, I walked outside this morning at like 8 a.m. and was like, oh, everything was like sticky. I guess you get like acclimated to it perhaps. I don't know. But holy heck, I love it. Like the humidity is so good for your skin and your hair, but also, ugh. Number 14, I think we're at, is my KitchenAid mixer. I love my KitchenAid mixer so much. I use it for so many things. I make butter, bread, like desserts, savory things, birthday cake, like all the things, okay? Can make all the things in the KitchenAid mixer. You can make whipped cream when you're out. You can get yourself some buttermilk, right? We know my struggles. Regular butter, whatever it is, everything. Like the KitchenAid mixer is just beautiful. Now I have to just tell you, I am considering, not that I will ever get rid of my KitchenAid, she will always be there, but I am considering making an investment in a larger, more industrial mixer. If anyone has any recommendations, let me know. I've looked at a few that are like 7.5 quarts, but then I've looked at like the truly commercial industrial mixers that are, 10 quarts, 15. I don't need like a 20, 30, but like 10 or 15 that would allow me to really make bigger batches. So that's one of the investments I'm thinking about making, but definitely let me know if you have any recommendations. But the KitchenAid, that's a purchase. I just feel like everybody should get that as a wedding gift. Everybody. No home should be without one. Number 15 is a shout out to a good money tracking app. Now, we use Rocket Money. This video is not sponsored by them, though they've sponsored a number of videos on my channel in the past. This video is not sponsored, but I want to mention them here because I genuinely love and use Rocket Money, and I feel like money tracking apps are worth it. They're usually less than $10 a month, sometimes even free, depending on the version and stuff that you use. But it is so nice if you're a visual person to have the graphs and things to see where portions of your money are going to, where your money is going to. Why was that so hard to say? But also to notify you when, we've got subscriptions coming up, things like that you might have forgotten about. Just depending on how many accounts you have, how many people have access to them, what you're doing, little things can fly under the radar. And so it's really nice to have this app there that's going to tell me like, hey, the subscription's coming up, or this charge is on here. It looks weird. It's a higher amount than normal, whatever. It's really nice to be able to categorize everything and see like how much are we spending on farm animal food versus human food, dog food, but all of that. So I really think it's saved us thousands because it has been like a magnifying glass on our budget and our finances to say like, hey, bing bong lady, like you're spending a little too much money in this category, like that's more than you want to spend, because sometimes it just creeps up on you. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. It just creeps up on you. You don't realize it and you're like, holy, what the heck? And you're surprised, okay? And we don't like to sneak up on ourselves when it comes to finances and money and all of that, right? No. I think we're on number 16. I've kind of lost count. That's our espresso machine, okay? It's an investment. It was a Christmas gift I got for my husband a few years ago. He loves coffee. He loves espresso. And I wanted to save money on, Starbucks and Dunkin' or wherever else. He goes to a local coffee shop we have here a lot. He loves it. But I wanted to save some money on that. So an espresso machine is handy dandy, okay? It is an investment up front because you do want a good quality one that's not going to break, especially if you are a coffee connoisseur and you're going to be drinking a lot of it. And we have 4 people in our house that drink coffee every single day. And so having that espresso machine saves us quite a bit of money and is really nice, especially when I don't usually drink espresso. I just drink regular coffee most days. But when I like to save it, to me, it's like a treat. And if I have it every day, it'll become old hat. So I don't have it every day. But when I'm really tired and I need a little pick me up in the afternoon, or maybe after dinner one night when you just feel like, I just need a good cup of coffee, sometimes I'll make an espresso then. Well, that's not true. Sometimes someone else will make me one because, believe it or not, I still have not really learned how to use that machine. I told you, I don't really make myself espressos. Everyone else does. So it's kind of nice. You play dumb every once in a while and you're like, I don't know how to do it. Can somebody do it for me? Listen, as moms, there's few things in life that we get to play dumb about and pretend like we don't know how to do it and someone else needs to do it. We're always the person that people are coming to and playing dumb. So I'll take it, right? Number 17 is my micro stitch. This is not an expensive item. And let me tell you, it's a handy dandy little thing. You see it and you're like, what is this little tiny, looks like a hot glue gun kind of, but it's not. It's just a micro stitch. So let's say you've got a top or something that maybe a stitch is out in, or you need it to stay closed, it's flopping open. You just use this and give it a little pull of the handle and it adds a little tiny micro stitch to your garment. So if something is just not quite fitting right, not staying in the right place, you can add just this little tiny stitch. It's really helpful for things that you love and maybe don't want to get rid of, but need a little help in how they fit you. And perhaps maybe you are not a seamstress, or you want the fix to be temporary. You don't want it to stay like that forever. Well, with this micro stitch, you can close up a top, but then you can take that little stitch out and it goes back to normal. So I feel like that has saved me quite a bit of money because it's allowed me to wear things that I might have otherwise gotten rid of. Or I've also been able to pass down clothes to my teenage daughters who are smaller than I am. So my stuff is a little big on them, but they can sort of use the micro stitch to sort of jimmy rig, and make this dress that they need for this event or something fit them. They don't need to go out and buy a new dress for this thing, but they can borrow one of mine and then I can make it fit them for the evening and then return it to its full glory for my booty, All right, next up is chickens. I'm not saying everybody needs backyard chickens because I know some of y'all live in places where your HOA is I don't think so. But if you live in a place where you don't have an HOA or your HOA is whatever, who cares, do what you want. I gotta say, I highly recommend chickens. They are these little peepers over here right now. I still have my babies in here in the cabin, so they are chirping at me. I don't know if you can hear that or not. The eggs, man, the price of eggs are expensive, and chickens are pretty easy keepers. They are not expensive to keep. They, especially if you pay attention to buying breeds that are good for your climate, make sure that you can't just go buy chicken breeds that are oh, I love that chicken, it's so pretty, I love the color. Well, if you live in a cold climate and that's not a cold hardy chicken, you're gonna have some problems. So you wanna pay attention to breed characteristics and make sure you're buying chickens that are appropriate for your area. And obviously, if you're buying laying hens and you're not buying meat birds, you want to pay attention to that. How quickly do they start laying eggs? How frequently do they lay eggs? Just things that are going to matter in how much they actually produce for you. I joke about our freeloading chickens all the time because in the winter, they really lay far less eggs. But if you utilize better strategies during the time when they're producing like crazy and they have more eggs, they lay more eggs than you can even eat, and you water glass them, which I have a video sharing how to do that. You can store those eggs for a year, 18 months, in some cases even longer, to get you through those dry periods in the winter when they're not laying as much. So chickens to me are a worthwhile, they're not even, I don't want to say investment, because it's just, they're really not that expensive. They are a worthwhile expense. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, and this one is totally free. It's called staying in my lane, staying in your lane. It is so tempting nowadays with social media and how much content is out there and how easy it is to make things look beautiful and perfect and desirable. It can be very hard to just put your head down, do the work, stay in your lane. That is truly like acquiring that skill, the ability to look at what someone else has, what they're doing, what they're achieving, what goals they've set for themselves, just the way that they live their life. The ability to look at that and go, good for them, not for me, right? The ability to look at what they're doing and say, that's awesome for her. I don't have to have that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to be that. You can appreciate that in someone else without feeling like you need that for yourself, or feeling like you have to have the pressure to do and be it all. That ability is going to save you arguably hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it's going to prevent you from buying things you can't afford, moving into a bigger house just because you feel pressure to, upgrading cars or lifestyles, or sending your kids to fancy expensive colleges, paying for insane competitive sports stuff for kids or whatever. Like, there's so many things that can add up and be incredibly expensive. And I'm not saying any of these things are bad in and of themselves, but it's when we do them and spend money on them, not because it's right for us, it's right for our family, because we see other people doing it and we're like, well, maybe I should be too. It's the shoulds. It's not even the like green envy monster. Sometimes it's just the shoulding ourselves to death, you know, where it's like, well, they're doing it, maybe I should be too. It's more of a fear and an anxiety than it is a jealousy. So getting a grip on that, and it's something that I feel as though even at nearly 40 years old, I'm still working on, though I feel I've gotten better. It's still hard, and it's a skill that needs to be fine-tuned and honed and sort of sharpened over time. But if it's done, and if it can be done, and it can be done well to not be that way, that is ultimately going to save you thousands and thousands, arguably hundreds of thousands of dollars. More of like a gray. I think this one looks like it's got penguin colors.
It looks like a penguin. Or like a dodo bird.
So I'm gonna show her, I mean. Show her where the water